What's something I'm afraid of? Forgetting where I came from. Waking up at 40, successful based on how the world thinks of success, but realizing that I forgot that it was like my brother's wedding anniversary, or like I missed something important, or that I'm still, frankly, to be totally real, I'm single, no family, and that like I kind of again, like I have like maybe a nice place and I achieved a lot, but I forgot what life is sort of like about, in a somewhat of a sense, about the family. That's literally something I'm afraid of. I think about that kind of stuff. Misconception people have about me is probably that I don't care what other people think. I think people have that misconception probably based on saying like, oh, you should cut your hair, and I don't. Or I don't know, like if somebody doesn't think I'm dressing quite well enough, or, you know, any sort of like insult, or people that disagree with the thought that I have, and I don't change my decision making, I don't change my behavior. And so I think sometimes it gives off the sense of like, oh, like he's actually like pretty confident in what he's doing, which it's not that I'm not, but there is a paradox of like, I am super sensitive and super insecure, just probably like a lot of us. But for some reason, I'm thankful and blessed that it doesn't seem to affect my decision making. It's interesting. There's a lot of stuff I get around people that don't realize I don't drink or smoke. I don't know. I mean, I've been seen wearing marijuana socks, but I don't smoke, which is this huge, like, doesn't make sense, dude. What is that? That's a conflict or whatever? No. Hypocrite? But yeah, so I think like some people assume, oh, you probably like get high a lot, and that's not true. Like I've never drank, but it wasn't really intentional. It was like I got through high school, and again I was homeschooled, and my parents were giving me these privileges to basically hang out in the hood and not come freak out and come get me, or play basketball, spend the night, come home, or like drive out there, drive back home, and like they were okay with all that. And I kept thinking, I don't want to push the boundaries too much. And so I would stay sober. I remember the woman I took to prom, somebody asked her back in the home city, like, yo, like, is John, you think John's like getting rowdy, getting active, and like drinking in school? And she was like, oh, he would never do that. I know him. And I was like, oh, wow, like this is a thing. Like, people know me for this. And I started to feel like, oh, like I feel called to do this. And then it was just something that I felt like some of my friends could be inspired by, like, oh, like he's not that awkward, but he's sober when he's at parties and stuff. And I was like, okay, like this is a superpower. And it kind of went from there. And I don't know if that many, I'd probably be surprised how few friends actually know all that. I think for me, everything kind of flows from loyalty. And this started at a super, super, super young age. Basically, like I had no friends till I was probably 14 or so, maybe 15. I started to meet people, which is wild. I mean, I had my family, relatives. I was actually like chatting with people on the internet about like and one street ball, and I was like playing basketball, but playing basketball alone. And I remember what it was like to make friends first. And I remember being always the outsider. So playing basketball in Bristol, upstate New York, and like being the only kid that like wasn't in school, or in the hood, like playing basketball and being the only kid that was white, and also like, you know, didn't live there. Like I lived like outside the city even though I was born there. Or again, like going to church and being like, whatever, like I just always felt like I was on the outside everywhere I was. And so the people that welcomed me in changed my life and made me happy, right? And so I was like, okay, one of my life philosophies is I'm going to remember all those day one friends that took a chance on me, and I'm going to be friends with them till I die. I'm going to champion the family forever and try to be the most loyal person that like any of my friends have ever met. And there's just so many of them. Like I only get my hair cut in Rochester with Shannon Lindsay, who's the only person to cut my hair since like '04. And so I don't know, like I like having these superstitions. I have a lot of superstitions on game days for the Patriots. You know, like every coffee I double cup, and people know that, but if people haven't been around me in person, when I order it, I order all my coffees double cup like Lil Wayne. I kind of think of a lot of the stuff as I do as like, can the good kid get the girl? Can the good kid win in business? Like this experiment of like, how far can the good kid gang go? And I try to keep these things consistent in my life so that a friend of mine that met me maybe in 2009 is like, oh yeah, he was like himself, very principled, you know, knew what he stood for then, but like, has he changed though, now that he's in New York this long? And they can like check in and like see, you know, a photo or whatever, and they see like, oh, he still double cups his coffee, like no way, like he's not too fancy for that. Or he hasn't changed that, or, you know, whatever. Like people maybe make fun of it, but like he hasn't changed his behavior. He stayed grounded, he stayed true to himself, and like that's like very true to me because coffee's my only vice, and Lil Wayne was such an inspiration for me growing up. He's a Shiba Inu. Shout out to XL, Reggie, and Carolyn, my little bro and little sis. Their puppy, who's my godson, loves the Patriots football and has clearly destroyed it. But in a weird way, he also made it so much more fire. No, you know, it's funny. So with Craig Adams, Home City, he was like the one friend that I had growing up that I felt like this is the guy that we're gonna go to New York City together. Like we were collaborating. Craig's literally like my right-hand brother for life, you know, like consistent from beginning all the way till now. And he lives in Brooklyn. And, you know, I hope like one day, like when he's going to Tokyo for free, because he's always travel day for free, travel day, travel day, travel day. Shout out to Amplu Jr., follow him on Instagram. I hope he brings the family. Doesn't forget about me and you, MKA. You know, the man behind the lens. He might though. You never know with Craig. You never know. King unpredictable. But that's the family right there.